Good day, anime fans. I'm here to tell you about a title that I just can't get enough of. Yep, if you've read the title, you already know. For today, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite new Gen Shonen anime, Jujutsu Kaisen. There are many reasons why people just can't seem to get enough of Jujutsu Kaisen, and I hope that I can introduce some of them to you through this list. Here are my top 10 Jujutsu Kaisen moments, and if you haven't been watching the show yet, it would be great if this list encourages you to give this title a shot. Before we move on to the start of the list, I'd like to encourage you to subscribe to the channel. Each like and subscribe matters and would really help me a lot. Together we'll reach the next subscriber milestone for this channel. On to the show then. Every amazing anime starts off with the epic beginning, and early on we have this big balls play by Yuji as he takes on the curse. First impressions matter if you're going to build a convincing protagonist that you want your viewers to root for. Such a thing isn't a problem for Jujutsu Kaisen, who right off the bat gives us a pretty nice introduction to Yuji and his background. However, heroes are born in crowning moments, like Ichigo slicing fishbone with his newfound powers. For Yuji, it's in the way he saves Megumi in the introduction to the series. Completely outmatched against the curse, Yuji nevertheless continues to fight on in as badass of a manner as an ordinary human can do. It takes big guts to do what Yuji does in this scene, and he ends the fight in the unorthodox manner of eating the finger and feels the consequences of that action. Talk about badass normal here. It's such a strong sequence to end the first episode that it left many people wanting more Jujutsu Kaisen. Following that, we have Panda versus Mechamaru. You wouldn't expect a side character battle to steal the show this much, but for episode 16, I think that's just what happened. I mean, this looked like something taken out of Tekken given the combatants. Hand-to-hand combat for me is one of the hardest things in anime to execute, especially with the level of detail that would make a battle so immersive and engaging. Not a lot of anime, relatively speaking, can masterfully deliver on that and give us a fight with such impact as this one. That's not even talking about the very moving conclusion in this fight. For what could seem to be a short fight, the animation team sure went out of their way to make this look amazing. Speaking of emotional fights in the Goodwill event arc, how about the battle between Maki and Mai? Two siblings separated by the different yet very similar paths they took. That alone is an ingredient for a very emotionally charged confrontation between the twin sisters, and it would all come to head in the Goodwill event arc. The pent-up feelings of jealousy and love finally erupt as they take the stage for battle, both carrying fatal flaws in their abilities that cause their dismissal from the family. The fight itself, which Maki wins, is great, but it feels less impressive compared to the emotional stakes and impact it gave me. In the end, it was Mai breaking down and confessing her feelings, only to have the other sibling walk off without repairing the broken bridge between them. It's an act that powerfully caps off a very touching and tragic fight. I didn't think the fight would tug on my heartstrings this much, and I'm glad that the fight far exceeded my expectations. The Mahito scuffles in the series have given birth to a lot of memorable stuff. What we have here is Yuji's rage moment after having to deal with Junpei. It's a moment that sent some shivers down my spine due to how strong and well done the acting is in the scene. I guess it's about time Jujutsu Kaisen joined the ranks of battle shonen with such heart-pounding moments of rage. Well, the art even made Yuji somewhat resemble Gon in his own rage moment. You literally see Mahito talk big game but run tail between his legs against Yuji and Sukuna. That's how you can tell that this is an anime protagonist who's not to be messed with. I didn't see this coming, and probably a few of you didn't either. This has got to be up there for an updated top rage moments in anime. Our next moment comes at the end of the first half of the series, the decisive battle against Mahito. Nanami and Yuji team up in the former's second major fight against Mahito. This time, he's joined by a very emotional Yuji after the encounter with Junpei, which I think deserves a moment of its own. The previous Nanami and Mahito fight was a showcase of Nanami's powers and meant to build hype for him. This time, it's Mahito's turn as we get to see the full display of his new abilities, and they're exactly as scary as they sound. He easily handles both Yuji and Nanami at first, and that's before he unveils his domain expansion. It's a thing to be feared, and we just see how desolate it is. Luckily for Nanami, Yuji manages to come in with a save of epic proportions and forces Mahito to retreat, the latter having gotten a taste of Sukuna's power.
言ったはずだぞ。二度はないと。領域展開。
All signs pointed to Jujutsu Kaisen having an epic climax to wrap everything up, and we march towards our top end with the recent moment of Megumi using domain expansion. One thing I really appreciate with Jujutsu Kaisen is how it utilizes its main characters and gives them a lot of shining moments. We see that trend improve with the recent bigger hitters like Demon Slayer, but back in my day, it was usually the main protagonist show with some moments from maybe the mentor character. I already talked about this briefly a while ago, but here we are, the highlight of the 23rd episode of the series. Episode 23 of the anime shows off Megumi busting out his epic domain expansion, Chimera's Shadow Garden, in the battle against his Fingerbreaker opponent. It's a technique as sinister as it sounds, and it works as a great darker tie into Megumi's growth. Really amazing animation and sound direction to this one, and it gives me chills seeing the technique in action. The thing is just insane, and it looks 100 times better than it did in the manga. Mappa really outdid themselves this time. Right after that amazing moment is showtime for Yuji and Nobara. Towards the end of the first season, we have Yuji and Nobara dealing with Iso and Kichizu, a fight that takes on different twists and turns. The animation quality is already something we've all come to expect out of Mappa's amazing work for Jujutsu Kaisen, but can I bring your attention to the cool twists of the battle with reconfiguring the setting and the combatants? Typically, you'd have these ensemble fights for the climax, but I like what they did here. By separating the main characters from one another midway into the fight and reuniting them, we get a better glimpse of what each fighter is capable of before throwing us their amazing teamwork when they're together. Of course, an epic battle like this isn't complete without the finale of both Yuji and Nobara finishing off their respective opponents in such a cool way. This battle is just as cool with respect to showing character growth and the chemistry the main trio have with one another.
It's not right or wrong.
なんだ今の黒い光は。
Gojo versus Jogo, aka the fight that collectively broke the internet for a while. Of course it finds itself so high on the list as it is, in my observation, the episode that helped skyrocket the series' popularity. Perhaps it's because being amazed by Mappa's work on the series and Attack on Titan is commonplace now, but back then, I think that this is the fight that finally got everyone's attention as to what a big hit Jujutsu Kaisen is shaping up to be. The jovial mentors Kitty Gloves finally come off in this thrilling battle to the death, and Reverse Kakashi here finally reveals his eyes and the true extent of his powers. It's probably one of the best flexes anyone's ever done in this series, as Gojo just destroys his opponent while showing the full extent of domain expansion's potential. It's crazy that Gojo isn't even trying here. Before, I compared this moment to the uber popular Demon Slayer episode, and I still stand by that statement. Yep, in terms of the effects the moments had on their series' popularity, this one does pale in comparison, but they still felt the same in putting their respective shows on the map. Second in line is Yuji and Todo taking on Hanami. Throughout the Goodwill event arc, Todo has taken on quite the mentor role for our upstart hero Yuji. That's why it's such a joy seeing them work together to take on the special grade Hanami. For me, this is one of my favorite moments because it really shows Yuji's growth throughout the series. You could call it a coming out party for him if you will. That's not to say that Todo was shabby in this fight, as he refuses to take a backseat to Yuji in the battle against such an incredibly durable and battle-hungry foe. A back-and-forth battle backed with amazing animation and evidence of growth is the formula to create a winning moment. I'm sure that this fight also caught the hearts of Jujutsu Kaisen fans worldwide. It's such a thrill trying to see how the chemistry between mentor and pupil holds up against a seemingly unkillable foe. The fight is great and all, but it's just unfortunate that in terms of visuals and sheer cool factor, I think that it had to just be upstaged by the very next moment on our list.
空間は歪み呪力は黒く光る
Coming in at the top is Gojo unleashing Hollow Purple.
仕方ない少し乱暴しようか
Gojo finally joins the battle to put a climactic end to the Goodwill event arc. The whole arc's been a pretty nice take on standard shonen tournament / battle royale arc, and of course, it had to be interrupted by an invasion of enemy forces. When all hope seems lost, who else would you expect than Gojo himself to appear? It feels like a callback to All Might arriving at the end of My Hero Academia's first part. However, I personally think that Gojo's appearance here trumps that one. I mean, just look at the guy go to town with his opponent and combine his techniques, finishing with the epic move Hollow Purple. Such a destructive attack ends up being the highlight of said episode so far. What a way to finish off a climactic battle of an arc and this list. It's such a stylish way to win a battle, something that Gojo just excels at. How's that for a top 10 moment? I'm 100% certain that there are more epic moments that I just can't sneak into this list because this anime is just so full of them. For one, we also have a lot of dramatic backstories and some of the less flashy yet just as important scenes that make Jujutsu Kaisen such a hot topic in the anime world today. Mind telling me about them on the comment section below? If you consistently like the content that the channel's been putting out, may I turn your attention to the various ways to support ViniTube. Besides subscribing, you can also help ViniTube by checking out my Patreon or becoming a member of the channel. Whether you pledge on the Patreon or become a member of the channel, you'll gain access to certain benefits to enhance your experience even more. You should check them out if they remotely interest you. That just about wraps it up. Hope you enjoyed the video as much as I did when making it. Stay awesome, and I'll see you next time.